Would like to welcome our next special guest speaker. It's a great privilege to introduce her to you tonight. I've grown up with this young lady for a long time. I've been part of her very special family for quite some time. Mum Maria is a very special person, and she'll be a little emotional tonight. Can you give a big round of applause to a young lady, 15 years of age, Jayde Kinane.
Hello and good evening. I'm Jayde Kinane. I'm 15 years old cystic fibrosis fighter. Tonight I'll be giving you a little bit of insight on what it's like living with cystic fibrosis. Cystic fibrosis is a life-threatening illness. It primarily affects the lungs, digestive system by clogging them with thick, sticky mucus. When this continues to happen, it causes lung damage and problems with the digestive system. Cystic fibrosis is a genetic disorder. 1 in 25 people carry the CF gene, and both parents must carry the gene to pass CF onto their children. I was diagnosed with CF at birth through the Guthrie test or heel prick test. In fact, I was one of the first children in WA to be diagnosed through the Guthrie test, followed by a sweat test which confirmed that I had cystic fibrosis. My parents had never even heard of cystic fibrosis, nor did they have any idea that they were both carriers of this disease. From that day, both mine and my parents' lives changed. I believe the effect on my family was much greater as they had to make life-changing adjustments, whereas for me, CF is all I know. In ordinary people's lungs, their mucus is more watery, which makes it easier for them to clear the mucus. Because of CF, the mucus sticks to my lungs and over time scars them, which in turn causes my airways to reduce and find it harder to breathe. We tend to call mucus frogs because they stick onto our airways and they are green. People often ask me what it feels like to have CF. The best answer I can give is that it is like breathing through a narrow straw for a really long time. That is normal breathing for the majority of CF sufferers. Not only does CF affect my lungs, but it affects my pancreas. My body does not allow food to break down naturally. I rely on use of enzymes, which are my Creon tablets. I find it very hard to maintain my weight and am often encouraged to eat foods that are high in fat and salt. I am often told, wow, you can eat as much junk food as you like, but junk food often makes me feel sick. I much prefer the fresh fruits and salads. CF is not a visual disease, and most of the time when people look at me, I don't look unwell. One of the hardest things I find in life is that people tell me I look healthy and they think I must be fine, I must be okay. Sadly, the signs of CF take place on the insides of my body. I try not to let it bring me down. Most of the time I try to get on with my life because I have to. I have no choice. This way I don't hear mum or dad nagging me. My ordinary day consists of a lot of medication, around 60 tablets per day. I take around 40 Creon tablets throughout the day, which helps to break down my food, around 10 tablets both morning and night, consisting of enzymes, salt tablets, vitamins and antibiotics. I also do physiotherapy twice a day, which includes a pod inhaler, a PEP mask, which contains a resistor to get my lungs working, plus 2 nebulizers. So after dinner, when the dishes need to be done, that's always a good time to disappear and go and do my treatment. I guess that is one bonus of having to do treatment. My medication takes up a lot of my time. Not a day goes by that I don't think about treatment or meds. There are no often days off from CF. Every time I eat, I have to take tablets, which I do forget at times. It can be pretty embarrassing, especially when I'm out with friends taking so many tablets. My days are extremely long, especially school mornings when I need to get up early, ensure I allow enough time for physio and for my nebs. However, I try not to let my lungs slow me down, so on top of all my physio and treatment, I dance 3 times a week at Mead Performing Arts Centre. In my free times, I also surf and ride motorbikes. I believe with all the extra exercise I do, it helps my lungs, which can often mean less hospital stays and less IV antibiotics are required. Believe it or not, that's a good part of CF. The not so deep part is the constant coughing, which I really hate, especially because I like to laugh a lot. And after I burst out into laughing, a coughing fit always follows. You cannot catch CF, you are born with it. There are some days when I feel I really need to wear a t-shirt saying you can't catch it, especially when I'm out in public. I get some horrible looks sometimes. People move away from me as I'm highly contagious. That is not the nice feeling, but I guess that's what happens. Then there are the many sleepless nights because of constant coughing, of the build-up of mucus, and severe belly aches, which leads to throwing up. I sometimes throw up after meals too, which I often find embarrassing and very unpleasant. Sadly, it's like a routine now, but I really wish it wasn't. Normally around every 6 to 12 months, my lung function drops due to different bacteria and infections that don't respond to normal oral antibiotics, and my doctors will admit me for a stay in the PMH, or as I like to call it, the Bronx, for a tune-up. And tune-up is when I need intravenous antibiotics. My oral meds just aren't enough. This is normally a 2 to 3 week intensive treatment process, depending on my improvement. Each tune-up starts with a theatre produce, and then when I'm put under anaesthetic and have a PICC line inserted, which allows the doctors to have more direct access to my lungs to give me my required medication, and so I can focus more on my physiotherapy. Having CF makes me feel like I'm constantly missing out on living life. My whole world is disrupted. It affects my everyday activities. My schoolwork suffers as I fall behind from missing so much school. I can't always dance due to treatments and have missed many performances, but mostly I miss my social life. And as anyone that knows me, I love socialising and living a normal life. Having CF has had some really scary times for me. As I've coughed so much, I've popped lung valves that made me vomit up enough blood to fill up like an ice cream container, which was disgusting. Dad and Mum had to rush me to hospital thinking it can't be good, and believe me, I was frightened, we all were. And I was told that several hours later, it's one of those things that can happen when you have CF. Just like developing diabetes, which is another thing I'm constantly being tested for. The worst season of the year of my condition is normally the time that most people look forward to. I always seem to need a course of IVs over summer period and Christmas holidays. I hate this the most as it means I'm stuck inside, can't go to the beach or surfing or hang out with friends as I'm clock watching for my next dose of IV treatments. Due to the fact that I have had so many rounds of IVs and gone under anaesthetic so many times in my life, my veins have become very weak, and it is much harder for the surgeons to put my IVs through a PICC line. So around 3 years ago, I made the decisions with my nurses to get an intravenous port put in. This required another round of surgery that the doctors now have easy access to all the time. Now when I'm admitted into PMH, as the nurses, all they have to do is needle my port. So there is no more fuss or anaesthetic for me for a while, thank God. For a bit of fun, I named my port Penelope. Penelope can be seen as a small bump under my right rib and a small tube under my skin on my neck. I feel pretty wicked because it looks like I got a pumping vein. Cystic fibrosis doesn't just affect me, it affects my entire whole family and my loved ones. This year has been a particularly bad year for us as my mum was diagnosed with breast cancer. And soon after that, my lung function dropped. And I needed to be admitted to hospital. Well, let me tell you, there was no way I was going to be admitted into hospital whilst my mum was in hospital undergoing a double mastectomy. Sorry. I wanted to be there for her like she's there for me. Whilst Mum was still in hospital recovering from her surgery, I ended up getting admitted into PMH. It was my first time ever staying at PMH without my mum. My dad would stay overnight with me before having to go to work each morning. My nana would come and do the day shift with me. It was a really rough week for me and my family. Mum in hospital, Dad living out of his backpack between work and staying with me. And the rest of the family running between the two hospitals. 6 weeks after that, my lung function dropped again, and I was so over it. I was dreading going back to hospital, but it had to be done. I got readmitted, and this time my mum and dad were both there for me. As the years have passed, I'm finding it a lot harder to stay healthy and recover from chest infections. My improvement wasn't going so well, and it was taking a lot of time for me to recover. I would cough and cough, hoping all the mucus would clear and the doctors would just let me go home and be normal, well, half normal. Extended hospital stays and IV treatments mean I've missed out on a lot of school over the years. Most people say I'm lucky to miss school, but believe me, I'd rather be at school than in hospital. 4 days after I was discharged from hospital, and after the awful couple months my family and I have been through, we recently shared an amazing family holiday around Europe with compliments of my nana and nunna. I got to see a lot of beautiful places and meet family I've never met before. However, I really wish I could leave CF at home. I had a great time in Europe and cruising the Mediterranean. However, I struggled with the smoke, and around Europe there are no non-smoking rules. People smoked everywhere, including restaurants. This smoke really impacted on my lungs, and I struggled. I had to miss out on doing certain things because it was simply too much for me and my lungs to handle. I found I was limited to some of physical things, sometimes just walking, as it was too tiring. Now I look back, I'm actually grateful that I had to take the cable car up on Santorini instead of walking amongst the donkeys with my family, as I can tell you they all smelt like donkeys by the time they got back. Living with cystic fibrosis is a full-time job and very tiring, but for me, there is no choice. I need to stay healthy. Most of people's wish is to be the best in life, but my only wish is to be healthy. To finish off, I would like to say a big thank you to everyone that has come along tonight to support cystic fibrosis. Thank you also to the Conquer Cystic Fibrosis Board Committee for inviting me to share my story tonight. Thank you, and please enjoy the rest of your night.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, massive round of applause for Jayde. A very special young lady. Hey, how's this? You're a superstar. Look at all the people. Only about 900 here. I'm just going to try and make her giggle because Jayde's giggle is probably the best giggle you ever see. Can you give us a little bit of a laugh?
Nah, it's all right.
No, it's all right. Hey, and you've also got two very good friends here as well. Maddie and Vanessa, tell us a bit about your friendship with them, sorry.
Me, Maddie and Vanessa have gone to primary school together, and me and Vanessa are currently going to high school together. But even though Maddie doesn't go to high school with us, we've always stayed close, and Maddie's Lockie's daughter. We're the three best friends, also the three amigos, and yeah.
And they're staying in a hotel room. Make sure you get home at the right time. If you don't, I'll be hunting you down. I know your brooms, all right? No laughing, no giggling, and no champagne. Can you give them a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? We'll move on, folks, because we've